Today, for example, more than 40% of global investment flows are ESG driven. The old paradigm of focusing purely on shareholder value and profitability is shrinking as investors are increasingly investing in companies that have strong sustainable practices. How will this impact Indonesian corporations? Will banks now include sustainability and ESG criteria in their lending decisions? We hope that this roundtable will help to answer and clarify these questions. We will start today's roundtable with a short video on what the Melbourne Business School offers, followed by Professor Hetker's presentation. Can we please run the video now? Thank you.
The world is constantly changing, sometimes faster than we expect. Organisations that help their people change with it are those which are best prepared to seize the opportunities of tomorrow.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. My name is Glenn Hetker, and as said, I'm a professor of strategy at Melbourne Business School, where I also founded and direct our Center for Sustainability in Business. The first point is that dealing with COVID, can we go one more slide forward, please, was not a choice. It was imposed on us, and we've had to respond accordingly. Second, there aren't really solutions. Rather, we've had to balance options to create the best trade-offs we've been able to. And of course, those trade-offs have extended over different timeframes, having to keep our businesses operating now without causing too much damage for the future. And critical to doing so has been deepening and changing our relationships to our communities, workers, suppliers, and others. First, sustainability isn't a choice. I think this example fits for all of us. There are multiple pressures for greater sustainability, which are going to affect every company. The question is how you will respond, because not responding is ultimately a strategic failure. Secondly, every company is going to have to make trade-offs in response. There is no magic solution. Third, the earlier you start to plan for and take action on those trade-offs, the more time, the less pressure you have in getting it right, and the greater your odds of success. I found when I work with managers that it's often overwhelming to think about how will sustainability affect my firm, or what can my firm do to be more sustainable? That's just too big a question. Instead, let's think about 3 arenas or areas in which your firm could become more sustainable. First, your product. What can you do to make your product more environmentally friendly? It can be a small change, perhaps a change in the formulation of a washing powder that makes it friendlier to the environment, or a large change like a hybrid or an electric vehicle instead of petrol-powered. Second, think about your processes. Can you make them more sustainable? That is, can you manufacture your product in a way that uses less electricity or produces less waste? Third is your purpose, the why you do what you do. Can sustainability become a motivating purpose for your firm and your employees? But I want to leave you with a bigger picture. I want to argue that, like COVID, dealing with sustainability is not a choice, not for the planet, not for your people, and not for your profits. Like COVID, it's going to force us all to make trade-offs over multiple time frames, and it will change the relationships you have, the relationships you need with your stakeholders. But what we have seen, what we know, is that for companies that respond creatively, that respond in a timely fashion, it creates new opportunities to generate value.
ESG has been like, community development, then it became CSR, now it is ESG, and the environment and safety and social has moved away more to carbon and carbon things. So what I would say is what we see, how we are already sustainable, we believe. What we're doing with the environment is international best practice. We're putting things back the way they were bringing back, areas for the mining industry. And we all know the cost on mining. But what we see now is if we want to be accessible to international finance, especially Western finance, we have to talk about our carbon footprint. We have to talk about our expansion, what we are trying to diversify. If we don't have a strategy of diversifying, the rating agencies downgrade you. The rating agencies believe you have to diversify out of coal mining and that. And that we can argue that forever. And we can argue, I mean, we are the lowest cost producer. We have big markets. We know demand for electricity and from coal is going to be there for the next 20 years. But anyway, people want to see you having these strategies. And that's where our sustainability now is developing. We're trying to do more and more of the downstream and explaining into how do we reduce our carbon footprint.
Right. Thank you very much. So it's really now a business imperative in terms of financing cost, in terms of getting it, even reflecting in your share price, right? Because investors will start to look at Bumi and say, are you reducing your carbon footprint? Are you doing things to be more sustainable? Even though it's coal and mining are critical sectors of the Indonesian economy.
Correct. I mean, what you'd be doing is, sorry, Glenn. What you'd be doing is now saying that ESG is an investment.
Pak Solehin, BRI has been one of the leading financial institution in terms of green bonds and sustainable financial product instruments. How big do you think is the potential market for sustainable bonds and instruments in Indonesia, Pak?
Okay, thank you. I think we start from the global perspective based on Moody's data. Sustainable bond issuance across the globe has reached around $491 billion or around 6% of total global bond issuance in 2020. And the market itself has been growing significantly, increased 4 times in 5 years, I guess, compared to the sustainable issuance in 2016. And the market potential for this instrument, the sustainable instrument, especially here in domestic market, Indonesia, I think is growing significantly aligned with the global trend. So a number of companies have been considering issuing this sustainable instrument instead of traditional one. For example, we start the sustainable bond issue in 2019, I guess, and then followed by other state-owned Bank Mandiri in 2021. So this, I believe, is supported by the fact that Indonesia is one of the most attractive emerging market with a demographic composition dominated by productive age and also favorable economic condition. And as Andrew mentioned before, the support and concern from our government and also financial system regulator in creating an encouraging investment climate and maintaining the stability of financial sector, Indonesia has also become contributing factors to the growth of the sustainable finance instrument in Indonesia. And the last, I think, according to the National Development Planning Agency, one of the Indonesian government body or BAPNAS, there is a financing gap for the Indonesian SDGs financing from the non-government sector is around $79 million up to $137 million. So this a very huge space for the issuance of the sustainable instrument from the non-government sector to close the financing gap to contribute to achieve SDGs in Indonesia. So the conclusion is the existence of incentive in the issuance of financial instrument, regulatory support, government support, and effort to increase awareness of the Indonesian people toward SDGs are expected to be the catalyst for the growth of sustainable finance market and also sustainable instrument here in Indonesia. So I think we start our sustainable finance journey in BRI is just like what Andre said before. Yes, we start from the very basic initiative, which is CSR, corporate social responsibility. Then we have a lot, call it in quote pressure. We also has from many stakeholders that we have to always improve our initiative in the sustainable finance. The sustainable finance receive increasing attention from many stakeholders, especially our main West, we call it the West investor and regulator as well. We start to see that there is an opportunity to develop our sustainable finance initiative beyond the CSR projects. We realize that currently our ESG initiatives still focus more on so to create more and social economic value by empowering micro and SMEs entrepreneur here in Indonesia to contribute to the sustainable Indonesia Sustainable Development Project. However, as you said that we've seen large room for improvement for BRI, for us to develop our sustainable finance initiative. We are now in the process in improving and strengthening our ESG governance within BRI, including setting up the roadmap, etc. And we see that there is an opportunity to finance the green project for the renewable energy, the clean transportation, and many things. So, but yeah, now we still more focused on the social part, which is developing micro and SME entrepreneur here in Indonesia. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak. So if I can just summarize, you're moving from really social projects to really more business-oriented decisions here in terms of your lending practices. I think in Indonesia, the demographics is that 60-70% of the population is really within the productive working age, very young people, and they are demanding this. So I think, Professor, if I can come back to you to kind of give us some of your closing comments and insights from what the speakers have said, but also, how do you see this future? It could be a bottom-up push in terms of a top-down push from business leaders, but coming from consumers, and consumers demanding that businesses be more sustainable.
I think you put that really well. And first off, let me thank you for arranging, thank our audience members for attending, thank the panelists for their wonderful insights. It's been a great learning opportunity for me. And as you said, there will be a top-down aspect to this, and that's going to be very important. And that may be what we first think of as managers because it's our regulator, it's our funder, et cetera. But you identified something incredibly important, and that's the individual. And it's not just the customer, it's the employee, it's the supplier, it's the community that you rely on who are becoming more and more concerned about this. And again, that creates opportunities for companies that can really capture that energy and do that. And I think it's that combination of bottom up and top down that's going to really drive things forward. Now, if you're a manager, that makes it doubly challenging. But if you want to think of it this way, it gives you twice the opportunities. So I think that's how I would pull it together. I think you've given us a wonderful ending to think about the top down, the bottom up, that it creates trade-offs, but that also means there are opportunities. It's been exciting to think about the changes happening in Indonesia in this way, exciting to hear what's happening in the finance area. And it's just going to be happening faster and faster. I think that's the one piece that's becoming really clear.